Before we get started, just a quick note, spoiler alert.
And we are adults, and I will try very hard not to use adult language, but this is the warning.
All right, let's get going, I guess.
Sounds good.
Here we go. Hi, welcome back to Fright Bites. My name is Jennifer.
And I'm Sedina. Each episode, we will feature a short story or novella. You can read along with us by finding the full reading list posted on our website, lastlibraryonleft.com, or our social media at LLOTL Podcast.
And wait, today's day 30 officially?
Yeah.
Whoa. And we're recording later and later in the day, which means you have less and less time to get it edited, which I'm sorry.
No, that's fine, because it literally takes me like 2 hours, as long as I don't have to redo my parts.
Yeah.
I had to a couple of times, but yeah, it's not a problem.
Yeah, it helps that we have short episodes. So today on day 30, we're talking about Sour Candy by Kealan Patrick Burke, and it was published in 2017 by Create Space Publishing. I just wrote a really simple summary for this one. This was one of the first ones I read, so I wasn't being lazy and looking to Goodreads for some reason. So this one I wrote, Phil and his son Adam seem like an ordinary father-son duo, but looks can be deceiving.
I really like this one.
So, okay, I thought this one was funny, and I don't know that I was supposed to think it was funny. So there's some exploration into that, but also I hate the demon child trope. You know, I don't consume anything with a little child in it or an old person because they're usually almost always a demon.
Yeah, I did worry about that at first when I started reading it, but you know, I think it was exactly what I want out of a creepy kid story.
Yeah. It took a turn and I was like, I don't mind it too much.
Yeah. I mean, it was still dark and creepy, but it was, it was really good. You know, I think it was because I really admired Phil.
Yeah, Phil. It's so funny because Phil, I was like, oh, Phil. Because the opening scene, Phil is going to the grocery store after just having a session with his girlfriend. And in the store, there's a kid throwing a tantrum. Mm-hmm. And the mom looks like a zombie. And she's just looking for candy for this kid. And Phil is every non-parent adult watching an interaction between a tantrum child and an adult caregiver.
Yeah.
And
he's like the ultimate bystander of this because not only is he watching it, but his girlfriend Lori is having him give the play-by-play.
I wrote no notes. The only thing that I wrote was that opening scene was just really triggering for me in funny ways because I used to be that adult like, oh my gosh, my kid is never going to throw a tantrum in the store. And then like I became a parent and then my kid has had the tantrum to the point where I've had to leave the groceries and take her home.
My mom's response, I don't think I ever threw tantrums, but Nadine only ever threw she threw 3 major tantrums out in public, but one of them was the full body on the floor, kicking, screaming type thing. Mm-hmm. And we were at an HEB out on the south side, and my mom grabbed my hand and we took 3 steps back away from Nadine, and my mom went, "Where's your mother?" And then we walked out of the store and left her there.
So funny.
And we just waited patiently in the car until Nadine like sheepishly walked out on her own, rubbing her eyes. And my mom was like, "You gonna do it again?"
That is so funny. So Aurora has thrown 1 tantrum in a store. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have to still tell her, like, keep your hands to yourself. Stop touching that. Because when we go to Target, her hands she's like a little spider octopus and those hands are everywhere. But she threw 1 tantrum and it was in Kroger. So this was when I was really struggling as a single mom for the first time, like on my own. I had just moved in with my mom, I think. Back then, I couponed like crazy because you could get really good deals, and there were a lot of times where if you couponed right, you could spend less than $10-20 and get over $100 worth of items. Kroger has these mega sales where it's buy 5 save 5, and if you coupon just right, you get a lot of things for free. This was one of those times. My cart was completely full. Like I literally just went into the candy. I was like, I think I'm going to indulge in some candy. And so I was going to buy a bag of candy, and she starts a tantrum. And I was trying my hardest to just be chill or whatever. And then she just didn't want to. And I was like, you know what? You wait until we get to the car and I'm going to beat your ass. And that's all it took. I got her out of the buggy. I gave it to the staff member and I told her, I was like, I'm really sorry. Like, I'm going to have to come back for these. And like, they were so kind and gracious. They know I was a single mom, so they held it for me. And the threat of a spanking was what calmed her down.
Isn't that's the thing too, is that you don't have to hit your children.
Right.
Usually it's just the threat of like something.
Right, because like my teeth were like clenched and I was just so mad. That was the first and the last time, but I still go back to like, just, do you want to go to the car? Like, that threat just kind of hangs in the air.
Right.
But yeah, this triggered a lot of them.
Side note, I picked up on all the Norwegian stuff super early on.
Yeah, great, because I don't know.
So I actually, for a very, very brief period, tried teaching myself Norwegian because I was like, I'm going to move to Norway because it's cold and dark and it's got great healthcare. It's great. But the candy, so Phil sees the kid throwing a fit or whatever. And he's like, oh, thank God that's not me. I never wanted kids. On his way back home to his girlfriend Lori, he gets into a car accident and it's the lady who had been with the kid and she rear-ended him. After the accident, she just walks up to him and she's like, it's your problem now. And then she walked into traffic. And Phil was like, the fuck is happening? And
he's so horrified.
He's also like, check the car. She had a kid with her at the store and da-da-da. And the cops are like, there is nobody in the car, blah, blah, blah. And then he describes the kid. And later the cops are like, you mean the kid that answered your door? And he was like, what? She dropped the kid off at my house? And I was like, oh man, this is about to get real good. Turns out that the kid is, I mean, we all know the kid is like the Omen kid. And he's no good. He's already rewritten all of Phil's reality. Lori broke up with him months ago. This is his adoptive son. He just, so the cops are like, are you okay, sir? This is your son, blah, 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 whatever. So it's not good for Phil. But the kid is like, oh, I'm hungry, daddy. And so he goes to check all of the cabinets and stuff, but there's only one thing there. It's a candy named Yug. I'm not going to pronounce it right because I can't. So I saw it. It's spelled GJO with a slash through it K. And I was like, that's Scandinavian. And so I looked it up and I was like, what is that? And it's Bokmål, which is Norwegian for cuckoo bird. And I was like, that's what the story is. He's a cuckoo bird's bird. Like, he's a baby.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I already know what this story is going to be. It was so good. And then when Phil was like, well, where are you from? Who are you? Blah, blah, blah. And the kid was like, I come from the Eldre. And I was like, Eldre, isn't that like old or older in Norwegian? And I was like, yeah, it's like the old gods. And I was like, man, this is going to be so good. And it was. It was
really good. So I referenced this when we were talking about Ellenhaven, that L.J. Smith book, the trilogy that was finished, and the main character being sort of like a reflection of the Goblin King. So in that book, the Goblin King used runes to do a lot of his stuff. And at one point, there's a doorway that he has locked with a rune, and it gets unlocked by the main character girl or whatever. And in it, there's like a bunch of demons. They had originally, in the book, they had originally wanted her, but her grandfather sacrificed himself for her. They never got satisfied because they never got her flesh. This book brought me back to that and how fascinating that whole story was with the old gods and runes and stuff. And I just wanted to like go back and revisit that whole trope.
And, you know, and I think that you personally seem to be enjoying this particular type of horror more and more the more we do it. So I'm really happy about that too.
Yeah, the old god stuff I'm really liking.
So Phil is very self-aware and very single-minded in this. You know, he's like, there's something wrong with this kid. He's messed up my life. He's completely rewritten everything. I need to do something to get him out of my life. So he made all these like great choices. He just seems so observant, especially of all the intentions and everything that was going on. But then he made the choice to eat the candy, and I was like, bro,
don't do it.
Why did you think that was a good idea?
Right.
Like, if all of a sudden the only thing in your house to eat is this fucking candy that this kid brought with him, why would you eat it?
Right? Like, he seems so smart and so intuitive. I thought that he would be able to withstand any type of manipulation the little kid had on him, even mentally, and he'd be able to overcome it. And when he ate the candy, I was like, well, there goes that.
Yeah, same. I was kind of bummed because I was like, bro, you were so close to just being able to, whatever. It's fine. Yeah. I mean, he kind of made it to the end anyway. I mean, like, okay, so he kills the kid, but like that's what the older gods wanted him to do from the very beginning, so that he could help give birth to a new cuckoo, basically. And I'm not gonna lie, the fact that the cop that kept trying to like convince him, you're just having a mental break and blah blah blah, and this is your kid, even though that wasn't the cop's fault because the cop had his brain reality warped or whatever. But that cop gets the new baby cuckoo, and I was like,
here it goes.
Like, you kind of tried, because there were moments where it seemed like the reality wipe wasn't working on him.
Yeah.
Ugh, you try. You know what though? Maybe that's why the older gods are choosing these people, because they know that they'll be able to make it through the entirety of the torture.
Yeah, maybe so. They are stronger than most, because that mom clearly wasn't strong enough in the beginning.
Oh, no. Yeah, my heart really went out to her.
Yeah, she triggered me a lot. I wrote down a lot of stuff, because there's one point where she's just staring blankly at the shelves and the kid is screaming and crying. I was like, if that's not the epitome of parenthood, I don't know what is. Because when you're pregnant, everyone's like, oh my gosh, you look so great, can't wait for the baby to come, sleep when the baby sleeps, blah blah blah, you know, they tell you all this stuff, and then like the baby comes and you're like, what the hell is this? what is this thing? And then like for me, when it was 2 months and I was officially on my own after 2 months, no one was there, I was at home by myself. My ex had already left. I had spent about a month with my mom and my sister because of my C-section. And so when I was on my own, I was like, what do I do? Like, what do I do? Like, they eat, they sleep, they poop, and then they cry. My whole life had gone. You know, like that past Jennifer, she was now a memory. And it took me back to how altered your identity becomes when a child is in your life. And again, gone are the days of the past. And then all of a sudden, all this unsolicited advice gets thrown at you. And I just, I stuck with it. And those were the only notes I wrote. And then I just enjoyed the rest of the story, because I was like, in that little bitty tiny chapter, I was like, oh gosh, if you didn't explain that one scene of just looking at the shelves did not trigger me back to like the early days of motherhood.
Yeah, that was a very well written scene, because even though I myself have had a child of my own, I definitely remember those days watching my poor mom try to just wrangle Nay before, I mean, double twos lasted until she was 22.
Well, and even then, I completely understood Phil's side, because I was on that side too. I was like, oh yeah, my kid's never gonna, like, I can't believe kids would do that. You know what I mean? They can't control their kids. Oh my God. Like, I was that person too. So it was a very well written book. I absolutely loved it.
I actually really want to read a lot more of Kealan Patrick Burke's work.
Me too. Okay, this was the first book that I read because I was going alphabetical, I think. No, this was Out of Body was the first one. But this was one of the first ones that I did read. And I was like, man, I like his writing style and I want to read more of him. One of the things that I can thank you for these 31 days is, like, I read a lot of authors that I probably never would have read. Some of them I won't read again, but there are a lot of them that I will read again. A lot of them have become very good favorites of mine, and I'm definitely a fan of Tor.com now.
Then my job is done.
You've convinced me.
I think that's a good way to leave it, with some laughs and some giggles, because tomorrow, the end of the 31 Days of Horror, is going to be a very interesting conversation, because it's a DNF for you. And for me, I think I may need to go to therapy for this one too, but for different reasons.
I'm looking forward to it, because I told Sadina I keep my personal life pretty much out of the podcast. So y'all will get a little bit more of a sneak peek into my life as to how this was such a DNF for me. But yeah, we'll get into that tomorrow.
See you guys then. Bye.
Bye.
If you liked listening to us ramble on about horror, subscribe to our podcast and tell your friends. And if you would like to follow us on social media, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook at LLOTL Podcast.
Check out our website by going to lastlibraryontheleft.com. Be sure to visit our About Us page to discover our 2 truths and a lie. Or, if you'd like to send us an email, you can reach us at somethingwicked@lastlibraryontheleft.com.